What's up, HyperFast Nation? On this episode of the show, I sat down with an amazing real estate wholesaler, investor, and educator. He knows how to go out, find great deals, and sometimes keep them for himself, sometimes wholesale. And we talked about that, as well as his 40-day challenge where he went to a brand new area, brand new city with $1,000 and challenged himself to make $40,000 of net profit in just 40 days. Welcome to the show, Zack Boothe. What's up, Zack? How are you doing today?
Good. Thanks for having me, Dan. It's good to be here.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk to you particularly about this 40-day challenge you did. You know, it's kind of like your take on undercover billionaire. You go to a new city, you bring what'd you say, like $1,000 you started with?
Yeah, I got $1,000.
Yeah.
I'm not as cool as Glenn Stearns, undercover billionaire. Housing was covered. I had a car, a smartphone, and my house. I didn't want to sleep in my truck and clean toilets, But
Right.
I did only get $1,000 to spend on starting up what I was doing. That was $1,000. That's all I got.
And the goal was 40 grand to make 40 grand in 40 days, right? Because that's
40,
like the that's the
And
median income of America.
Yeah, it was the average American income. Plus, it sounded sexy, right? 40 and 40. So it's good marketing.
That's a really cool idea, and we're definitely going to talk about that. See if talk about if you pulled it off or not. But before we do that, give people a little bit of your background. Like, what were you doing before that 40-day challenge? Who are you? All that kind of good stuff.
Yeah, so professionally, I started actually as a window cleaner. So growing up, I did all sorts of different jobs. It was kind of a requirement for my family. I started working at 11 years old. By the time, I worked for the family lawn mowing business, and then when I was 15, I started working for other people. I finished carpentry, framed houses, all sorts of stuff. And then at 17, at 16 years old, my dad said, well, you're a man now. You take care of yourself financially. You get $200 a year for clothing. We'll pay for housing and food. The rest is on you. It wouldn't even co-sign a loan to buy a truck. If I drove the vehicle, I had to start mileage and end mileage and pay him money for the gas. Like, he was very methodical about the way he raised me. And so at 17, I was like, okay, I got to quit trading time for money because I don't have enough time. I got to go to school. I want to play high school basketball. I have all these things that I want. And $6-7 an hour just wasn't cutting it. And so I started my first business, started a window cleaning business at 17, grew that for a decade. And then from there, I got sick of that and then some. And I ended up getting into real estate investing. I bought a couple rentals, and then I had all these barriers to keep me from being successful. So then I learned that you could get into real estate with none of your own money. Maybe you guys have all heard of that. And I thought it was a scam and a sham and all that. In the beginning, I didn't think it was legitimate until I met a guy. I was washing his windows. His name was Stan, and a wealthy real estate developer. And I was like, man, if I could just get 2 rentals this year, but I got all these obstacles. The banks won't give me loans. He's like, oh, that's convenient. I got these 2 rentals I don't want to deal with. Here you go. Right. And he handed me these 2 amazing properties for a couple $1,000s down. And I ended up selling them to the tenants like a year later, and I made over $100,000 profit. And when that happened, I was like, wow, this dude knew 10 times more than me. He was educating me on how to do this stuff. He just didn't want to deal with the hassles. He just wanted it gone. He's like, my property manager quit, bailed on me 4 months ago. The real estate agent I have wants me to clean them out and get the tenants out and all that stuff. I don't want to work with the agent. I just want to be done with them. And I was like, wow, like everything that I've been hearing people talk about on the podcast, like that there are people that don't want to work with a real estate agent. They just want to be done. They just want an investor. I thought that was, BS, but it happened. It's legitimate. Like, as I had hope, I had belief now. So then I was like, well, let's take this serious. I started listening to podcasts, ultimately found a coach, Tom Kroll, who changed my life, dude. And so I took that path of being in the business of finding discounted deals, ultimately because I wanted rentals. I wanted to build that long-term wealth. But the best part of what I discovered is I could cherry pick the best of them, right? Keep the best ones, And the other ones I could pass on for an assignment fee. I'd get lump sums of cash, tens of thousands of dollars, just by selling the piece of paper. None of my own money, no risk, none of that. It was incredible. And so like that was kind of the path that I went professionally to. And then I ultimately accidentally became a coach and decided to do this 40-day challenge to help people. So
now I'm guessing part of the motivation of this 40-day challenge is because you probably get a lot of comments from people who see your content on social media, or maybe even people that want to coach with you about, it's easy for you to say that, Zach, you've got all this money, right? Or you've got all this experience, and you know that market. So was that part of the motivation to kind of prove to them that you can go into a new market with not much resources and still have success if you implement certain things?
100%. Like,
yeah.
I totally believe, though, that if someone's going to be successful, they have to have a massive amount of confidence that they will be. Because if they don't have that belief and confidence in themselves, they won't give 100%. Like, they're not going to like roll up their sleeves and work their butts off, because they have this like inner feeling like, hey, this is all a waste of time anyways. Why am I going to try? So they give a half-hearted effort, and they get the kinds of results you expect. Not very good. And they don't get good results, and they're like, see, I knew I wasn't good enough. And they spiral downwards, and they don't find success. But the opposite's true. If they start with a massive amount of belief, they give a massive amount of effort, and because of that confidence and belief, they spiral upwards. And I believe that I was given a gift. It was an accident. It was a gift of God. It was something, right, where I met Stan, and I got those two properties. And, dude, I was a believer because I saw it happen. I was a major skeptic myself. I thought all coaches were BS, and they just sold it because they couldn't do it themselves. And so I really had no intentions of ever being a coach. Like, I didn't know that that's where it would lead me. I can kind of explain why, so it makes sense. At the end of 2018, I had made about $500,000 doing what I teach, right? Finding discounted properties and selling them for an assignment fee. And my mentor, Tom Kroll, that taught me how to do it, he had me speak on stage. Kind of share my success, exactly what I was doing. I had started finding all my deals through a process called Driving for Dollars, and he wanted me to explain step by step what I was doing to help his people. He really cares about his students. He loves his students. And so I got on stage and I shared it. There was like a couple hundred people, and I said, if you guys have any more questions, here's my email. I had like 170 emails. Right? It's like, oh crap, what have I done? So I had all these people asking me, like, can you help me, blah, blah, blah. And I was so busy with my own business, I didn't really have any intention to do so. But at the end of that, I met a guy there that became a friend, and he invited me to do a self-help journal called Living Your Best Year Ever. And in the book, it's a journal, but the first 100 pages kind of a book, and it talks about who you have to be, what you have to do to accomplish your goals, and then it helps you create 3 big goals. One of my goals is I wanted to generate $1 million the next year. But what it said is I had to give away whatever I wanted to receive. So if I wanted love, I give love. If I want money, I give money. So the way I interpreted it is I had to give away $1 million if I wanted $1 million. I was like, well, I don't have $1 million. How am I supposed to do that? Plus, I'm trying to make it, not give it away. And, also I kind of it's like, well, if I give $1 million, it's not going to help anybody. It's actually going to hurt people, right? Because they're not going to be stewards of the money. People who win the lottery, they file bankruptcy, right? They're worse off because of it than. And so I had like this inner turmoil, but I wanted to do something. It kind of sounded amazing. So I went to my wife. I was like, how do we give away $1 million? And she told me, it was actually her idea. She's like, why don't you teach what put $500,000 in our pockets and changed our lives? Why don't you teach that? So I went to my coach, Tom, and I was like, Tom, I want to find 10 students, and I want to put an average of $100,000 in each of their pockets. Can you teach me how to coach? Can you help me do that and serve some people? And he said, that's the greatest idea ever. Let's do it. He said, first rule of thumb with coaching, they will not take you serious and implement unless they make an investment. So you have to charge them money, and the way this is going to work, everything they pay you, you're going to pay me, and I'm going to teach you how to change their lives. So I really was teaching for free. Everything that I received, I gave it to a coach to make me better at teaching. So I never planned to make money as a coach. It was never a goal. And my very first student, Michael McLeish, a year and a half later, texted me, I've now made over $1 million from what you taught me. Right? I mean, my first student, he was my third student, Scott Dallinger. He made $113,000 on his first deal. Right? My students had explosive success, but the most beautiful part of all this was I found my calling. I found my purpose, right? Like I found so much fulfillment in it. I wanted to do it forever. It was really cool because exactly what the book said would happen happened. I did $1.2 million in my real estate wholesaling business. Even though I was spending so much time with my students, my business exploded. And it was partly because the more I taught, the more I realized how many holes I had in my own business and all the mistakes that I was making. So it kind of brings me back to like, why did I do this challenge? Well, I became obsessed with getting people results. I became obsessed with like, what's keeping people from making money? What's keeping my students from having success? And I realized the number one thing that holds people back from success is that belief, that mindset, that belief that they can do it. Because they see someone like me and they're like, well, you're wealthy. Well, you have a team. Well, you know what you're doing. Well, you're not a single mom. And it's true. I can't speak to those things. And so, I made it a requirement. If I coach someone, they have to share their success story on my podcast because their story will relate and give belief to someone else where my story can't, because I'm not a single mom, And so I wanted to make sure that was the first obstacle that I conquered for people was that fear and lack of belief in themselves. So that's why I did the 40-day challenge. That's ultimately why I did it, is I wanted to give that gift of confidence and belief that I was given by Stan.
Hold that thought for a second. Did you know I've been involved in developing and building hundreds of homes? And did you know that we take partner investors in our deals? If you want to learn about new opportunities that we have for real estate investors, go to my Instagram account, it's @Lesniak, and send me a direct message. Again, if you want to learn about my next opportunities for real estate investor partners, go to my Instagram @Lesniak and send me a direct message. Yeah, I think that's amazing, and I think I think a lot of people do struggle with thinking it's real, thinking that it can happen for them, and some of it's knowledge and understanding and education, and some of it is that confidence. So, obviously, through the coaching, you can give them the knowledge, the education, and people need that. Like, they don't have that around real estate. They don't teach it in school. Like, I can't tell you how many people on my Instagram or TikTok, when I'll post like a property deal I do, and like they kind of all sarcastically comment like, oh, step one, get $1 million. And it's like they don't know that you can get loans, right? They don't know that there's low down payment loans. They don't know that there's loans not based on your income, right? So there's like all these things people don't know, and then they just assume that you have to be wealthy to do it. So you have to give them the education, you have to give them the confidence. And I think the cool thing about your challenge is you kind of eliminate people's, I guess, excuses or their ability to just say like, Zach did this because he's already crushing it, right? Or you kind of eliminate that. You start with $1,000, a market you don't know. Walk us through how the challenge actually played out.
Perfect. Yeah, great question. So, I believe that there's a couple things that have to happen, right? If you want to do what's called wholesaling, or finding a discounted deal and passing it on for a fee. First, yes, you have to get discounted opportunities. You have to get properties at a massive discount, right? That's part of it. But once you get a discounted property, who are you going to sell it to, right? Who's going to do the deal? So you have to start with a buyer's list. So when I hit the ground, I had to get buyers, people that would buy my discounted deals. I also needed a title company. I also needed to make sure that I had the right kind of paperwork and contracts and attorneys. So I had to find an attorney who I ended up using for a probate deal as well. So I had to get all these things lined up. And so it was kind of madness, because the middle of the day I was dealing with that kind of stuff while I was cold calling. I had to go, it was a lot, right? And y'all can watch it for free. I mean, it's free content. But those were the first foundational pieces: buyer's list and title company and that kind of thing. So what I first did is I could have, one by one reached out to potential investors and went to the RIA meetings and, found people, but I wanted to build a list extremely fast. So the way I did it is I got on Facebook groups, looked up, I was in Tampa, so I was like Tampa real estate groups, Tampa REI association groups, and just started like searching Facebook groups for key terms. So every Facebook group you can search key terms. So I searched like wholesale, deal, offer, cash. Like I just started looking for certain key terms and looked at all the posts. And I quickly identified who are the people that are actually putting out deals. Mm. And then I got their phone numbers, sent DMs. I figured out how to get phone numbers. Once I got a hold of one of them, I asked for the other phone numbers. Most of the wholesalers are connected. But I got multiple wholesalers' phone numbers, and I called them, and my script was, hey, do you want to build, do you want more cash buyers? 99% of the time they're going to say yes, because more cash buyers equals bigger deals when they push out a deal. And they'd be like, great, yeah, I want more. I'm like, oh, great, I'd like to get you some more. What I'm doing is I'm doing a trade. I've got some, and I've got some more people that want to trade as well. Would you trade if we could really like beef up your list, even double your list? I'd be like, yeah, I'd consider that. How does it work? It's like, well, what I'll do is once I want to make sure I can really blow up your list. So how many do you have? I'd be like 2,000. Okay, well, great, 2,000. If you're willing to trade, let me come back to you when I know that I can 100% get you more. So don't send me anything yet. We'll be in touch. So then I go to the next dude and be like, hey, Bob, the wholesaler said he's on board to trade. We got 2,000. Would you be willing to trade? I'm going to call a bunch of other people. I want to build up your list. And I just went one by one. Once I got everyone on board, I say, okay, everyone email me your list, and I'll email it back. I build an email list of like 11,000 people for all of Central Florida. So every real estate investor friendly agent, every real estate flipper, hard money lender, you name it, I had it on that email list. Few phone calls is all it took. And then so I had my cash buyers list, title companies, all that stuff lined up. And then I had to go find discounted deals. So what I do is driving for dollars. So all of my, my podcast, my YouTube, my TikTok, all of my social media content is branded Driving for Dollars Mastery, because that's how I personally find all my discounted deals, right? And if you guys don't know what that is we drive around and we look for ugly houses, right? Why do we look for ugly houses? Well, we're trying to find someone that wants speed and convenience over price. We want to find someone that wants a pawn shop for their house, right? Because 99% of the sellers out there, they want a real estate agent. They want to squeeze out as much as possible. It's fine. They should. And that's what I'm trying to find is like, do you want to sell? If yes, now it's like, okay, how do you want to sell it? Do you want to sell it as is, cash, done quickly, make a little less, but convenience? Or do you want to work with an agent, squeeze out as much as you can? Right? That's the qualifying question. So for me to find that very, very small percentage of sellers, I got to find people that have a property that's a thorn in their side, right? These kinds of people maybe inherited the house and it's a problem and they got problematic siblings, and like one of them's living in the house and there might be legal issues between them and they're fighting over stuff, and one of them's a freeloader and it's a problem, right? Or mom was a hoarder and they inherited the property and it's just overwhelming and there's a ton of damage, or the house is just in really bad shape and they don't know what to do with it, right? And it won't even qualify for traditional loans, right? For a first-time home buyer kind of thing. Or they just don't want to work with an agent. They just want to be done fast, right? They don't care about the money. Tired landlords is another big one. So we're trying to find these people. And when someone has a house that's a thorn in their side, they don't take care of general maintenance, right? And so we're driving around looking for neglected houses. Once we find those houses, you guys can see what I'm doing exactly on the 40-day challenge. But I download an app called Deal Machine. It's really cool. It's like a Google Maps image. I'm driving through the neighborhoods, and I'm literally just touching the houses on the phone, uploading all the information on an Excel spreadsheet, and then I go cold call and see if they want to sell. So like day 4, you see me call, and I get a hold of 3 people that turned into 5 contracts. Yeah, 5 contracts on day 4. Yeah, I signed 3 contracts on day 4 with one seller, and then I got a hold of 2 other people that turned into contracts. But like it was a lot of work. It's actually not that sexy, right? Like I'm not in a suit and tie doing these big deals. I'm just an average Joe running around in a crappy little car with my smartphone. Like it's not the most complicated process once you learn it and understand it, but it changed my life, from window cleaner, barely being able to take care of my family, to this. It's been quite the experience for sure.
So what did those contracts materialize into, in terms of your net profit during this challenge?
Yeah. So ultimately, how it broke down as far as the results I got. I actually only got 30 of the 40 days. I had to finish the last 10 days in Brazil. My family got COVID. They were in Brazil and they got COVID, and I had to go rescue them. So I got stuck in Brazil for like a month after that challenge with my family with COVID. But those first 30 days and the 10 days that I was in Brazil, I was kind of doing things virtually. But I ended up getting 7 total contracts. 2 of the contracts I had to cancel. I was under contract too high. There were some foundation issues and things I didn't catch when I first walked the house. I had to cancel the contracts. I actually kept 2 as rentals. They were such good deals, I couldn't help myself. I bought them for like $55,000 each, and they currently had tenants for like $850 a month, and I could have easily turned around and sold them immediately for about $110,000, right? So
wow.
Yeah, so I made about $110,000 in equity plus cash flows. Fantastic deal. Couldn't help myself, but I did exactly what I promised, which is to at least make the $40,000. So 3 of the 7 contracts, I actually sold the contracts, none of my own money, no debt, no risk. The first contract I sold for $10,000. The second contract I sold for $30,000, and the last contract that I sold for $53,000. So overall, I made $93,000 in profits just selling the purchase contracts. Plus, I picked up two rentals for about $110,000 of my own cash that I had saved up. So,
hey, hold that thought. Do you want to get 100 tips for free from my best-selling real estate book, The Hyperlocal HyperFast Real Estate Agent? If you do, go to HyperFastTips.com and you can download 100 of my best tips today. Again, that's HyperFastTips.com. You can download 100 tips on how to grow your business, get more clients, deliver more value to more people. Go to HyperFastTips.com.
Wow. That's just a powerful story for so many reasons. I mean, it's just unbelievable. Like you more than doubled the goal of $40K. You pick up 2 deals that easily had another 100,000 of equity in them, and now they're going to give you massive cash flow. And I think it's just a great example to people that if you have the education and the belief, you can go out and do this. Like, there's nothing special about the market you went to, or
even me,
how you did it, or you.
Yeah,
you just had the confidence and you knew what to do.
Yeah, people, like, it's funny, like, people might hear my podcast or my YouTube and share and like listen to me share my real estate knowledge, and they're like, oh wow, he's so put together. But if you saw me on the street, dude, like, I'm in flip-flops and I'm no one special. I drive a Prius, right? Like, I'm not fancy, I'm not flashy, and I know that that's different from a lot of the influencers, and I don't really do this to like show off or show how cool I am. I really don't think that I'm anything super unique. I didn't grow up with money. I have a hard time retaining information. I have a really hard time spelling. Like, it's so embarrassing for me to send an email. Like, I have a lot of things. Like, I was a very average student, but I had a desire to take care of my family in a way that I was not, that I wanted to. When I was a window cleaner, and I remember I couldn't even pay the bills for my son when he was born, I remember kind of hating myself and feeling like a loser and a failure. And I wanted something more for my family. It wasn't enough for me. And it wasn't because I wanted to show the world that I was better, but it's because I love my kids and I love my wife, and I wanted something more for them. I could live in a van down by a river. I'm a major outdoorsman. I literally could go sleep in a tent 200 days of the year and be as happy as could be, right? Like, I don't need things, but I wanted to give a better life. And I found so much fulfillment in helping other people that now I'm kind of out there and doing these kinds of things. And so, I think that's important to know, because you guys need to believe that I'm no one special. And Tom Kroll, my mentor, like, I love him to death, but he was no one special either. He had like these yellow polos and these orange polos, and he says easy peasy lemon squeezy kind of guy. He drives around in a golf cart in Florida. He's just the happiest guy ever. He's retired from coaching. He doesn't do it anymore, but he changed my life because he wanted to help people. And I need you guys to understand that there are a lot of coaches out there that, yeah, they blow smoke and they, they're in it to charge you money, and they don't necessarily care if you're successful or not. But y'all can do it, right? Like, don't let that one coach or those people that kind of put a bad taste in your mouth keep you from believing in yourself and providing the kind of life for your family that you'd like.
No, I think that's great advice. I think the story, the challenge is super powerful. So people need to go check that out and, listen to your podcast and look at your social media on that. Before we wrap up, I always like to end with a HyperFast round. If you are ready for some rapid fire Q&A.
Let's do it.
All right. What's your biggest piece of advice to a new real estate investor?
First, identify your goal. Like, what niche? Do you want to do wholesaling? Do you want to do multifamily investing? Find out what your niche is, and then find a coach. The coach needs to be someone that is doing it themselves actively, consistently getting results for other people, and someone that you like and trust. So that would be my advice.
All right. What's the biggest mistake you see experienced real estate agents making?
I think that learning something that makes sense for them and not understanding that there's more ways to make money, right? Stopping that education. They go and they may learn just how to work retail, but they don't. There's so many that know very little about investing and the investing side and networking with investors, right? Like, for example, wholesalers, we produce a ton of leads, and at least half of them or more are best for a real estate agent that we can pass on to them. So you need to realize, understanding the investing side, even if you don't want to be a part of it, it'll put way more money in your pockets overall.
What's the biggest challenge you've had in real estate, and how did you overcome it?
I would say the belief, right? Definitely the belief that I could do it, that it's legitimate, and I overcame it because I met Stan, like I mentioned in the story. So I don't know if it was necessarily my intelligence that overcame it. I believe it was a gift.
What's one thing you're doing in your business now that you were not doing a year ago?
My investing business has been pretty steady for a few years now. But my coaching business is definitely where I spend a lot of my time. One of the big things that I can say I'm focusing on more so now is trying to help leaders and focusing on coaching more leaders. So that's something that's been a major focus of mine right now.
All right. Last question. Where do you see yourself 10 years from now?
Probably doing what I'm doing, coaching. Yeah.
All right. Zach, this has been amazing. I love your story, especially the challenge. If people want to connect with you or learn more about you or what you're doing, how do they do that?
Yeah, y'all can slip in my DMs on any of my social media platforms. But if y'all want to catch the 40-day challenge, I have a quick link. It's dfdmastery.com. You got to do the /40 and 40 to get access, or you can just catch it on my YouTube channel. So,
all right. Well, thank you so much for being on the show today, Zach, and sharing your inspiring story. To all of our listeners and viewers, thank you for tuning in. Please share this episode with other people that you think can learn from what Zach has taught us and the stories that he's inspired us with. So please go ahead, share the episode. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you next time. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure and go to hyperfastagent.com to learn about upcoming in-person and online events. And don't forget to share this show with someone that you think could benefit from hearing it, and make sure you subscribe on YouTube or anywhere that you can find podcasts.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of the HyperFast Show. Subscribe to us if you want to make sure you get the latest and greatest HyperFast shows. And remember, we love reviews. Reviews help us bring better and better guests and improve our shows. So give us the good, the bad, and the ugly. We hope you enjoyed the show, and we will see you next time.
Hey guys, thanks for sticking around to the end. I hope you enjoyed that video, and if you want to see more, click right here. And if you want 100 real estate tips from my best-selling book, click right here to download them instantly. And if you're new to this channel, click below to subscribe.